Well, hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Holtzmichel channel. Today is a rather interesting or unique project, I should say. This is where woodworking and metalworking meet. Today we're making a part for a guitar maker in the UK. Her name is Susan Gardner, and I do recommend you guys that are into woodworking go check out her channel. There's somebody who really knows her stuff and knows what she's doing. There are a few woodworkers in the YouTube community that truly impressed me, and Susan's one of them. So she is kind enough to ask me to make her some nuts for the tuners on the necks of guitars. And this is an interesting project and a unique project in a way, because it takes the limits of this lathe down to the very edge of what's doable on this lathe. You know, it's always been said that you can do a small job on a big lathe, but you can't do a big job on a small lathe. Well, this is the absolute pushing the limits of what's doable on this lathe. The outer diameter of these nuts, I'll bring you in here in a show. I'll show you still here. How's that? It's better than me walking up to the camera and, you know, trying to poke your nose in it. But here's a still of the nut. And of course there's a washer with it too, and we'll be making the washers. I could have cheated and just you know, ordered the washers, but however, these are a unique size and they're not standard, so we're going to have to make some. And as I'm looking at the original here, there are some machine marks on here, but we're gonna, the original's made out of brass and then it's nickel plated, but we're going to be making these out of stainless. And same thing on the washers. I don't know what this washer's made of. It looks like a standard washer, but I measured it and I know it's not. So anyway, I did make a dry run on one of these. Let me see if I can dig it out of my pocket here. It turned out a little longer than the original, but my main focus was trying to find out if I actually got the right die. I've got a set of, oh, I don't know what you call it, in the, you know, a little measuring comb in the tap and die set, and so it allows you to measure, you know, the pitch of the threads. And so this was an M8 by 0.75, real off the wall species that you don't encounter much. And so I really had to do some digging in eBay to find a die that can handle this stainless steel as well. So we've got some six-sided rod. It's already in the chuck. The tool size is, or the size of wrench that this thing needs is 10 millimeters, i.e. 3/8. So this is, like I said, unique in the way that we're going to take this six-sided thing and make it round. I could have made it from a piece of round stock and then added the heads onto it. I'd still have to turn it down. I would have had to have a piece of 12 or 14 millimeter rod, and then turn it down to an 8 millimeter outer diameter. And the other unique feature about these nuts, and you saw that in the still photo, is the hole down the center, and it's exactly a 6 millimeter. So we've got some 5.8 millimeter drills to drill out the center, and then a 6 millimeter reamer with an H7 slip on it. So that gives a nice good slip fit. Like I said, I've tried this out already. Fits like a glove, like it was made for it. So we're going to go ahead and whip these out and get going on them. So the first step, of course, is to stick the rod here in the chuck. And being how this is a 10 millimeter cross section on the narrow side, or from flat to flat, we can run the tool in until it contacts the workpiece here. And so now we know, okay, now we're right on the 10 millimeters. I've made a mark on the dial here. Let me swing you around. So I made a mark here on the dial where my finish is, or my finish cut is going to be. So when I turn this in, you can see the other half of the mark is over here. So when I turn this in, will be at our finished dimension, and then we can take this all in one cut. So the danger of taking this all in one cut is that the workpiece is going to flex and push away. It's going to deflect away from the tool, and so you can't make it protrude very far. The depth of the threads is only going to be 12 millimeters, so it's a little over half an inch, or right at half an inch, and so we don't need to take a whole big chunk of it right off the get-go, just what we need. Now, as you can see on the dimple here, it's already been, that's where I did the first trial run, and that's where I left off with the drill. So I'm going to pre-drill it again, just to be on the safe side, to keep the drill track and center, because when you take a drill and put it on the lathe like this, they have a tendency to drift. And so you don't want to drill out the whole rod or as deep as you can go with the thing, with the drill bit right off the get-go. You want to just take as much as you need, and then if you can, cut it off to where you know you're going to leave off, and then start fresh with a fresh hole, with a fresh center, and then that way your drill bit isn't going to drift when you stick the when you start drilling out the center of it. So let's roll this back here just a smidge and fire it up, and let's see here, we should be 560. I think we can go 710 on this RPM. Normally I'd run coolant on this, but for this demonstration I'm going to not run coolant and just go ahead and run it dry. This is a bit that can take the dry. It's an all-rounder. They get kind of spendy, but they are worth their money. So let me run up against the butt here. Set my travel dial. I have a travel dial here on the carriage, so that way I can measure off 12.5 millimeters depth, and then go from there. So let's fire it up. Okay, now we know our knife here, or our parting tool, is 4 millimeters wide. So what we're going to do is use the travel dial again to figure out where we're at. We need to have about 2.5 to 3 millimeters left over on this head. The actual head is only 2 millimeters thick, but we need a little bit on there because we're going to put this all in a jig, and then when they're all done, and then grind the surface of them so they look nice, and then polish them. So we need a little bit more meat there, and when we take them out, they're going to get put back in by this, held by this neck, and then turned and faced on this, in this chuck. This chuck can grab an 8 millimeter diameter piece still securely enough to where a guy can actually do something with it. And we have enough meat here on the neck to where this chuck will still grab it. Here a while back I did grind these jaws of the chuck so that they're not bell-mouthed, and we have that ability to grab a small workpiece like this and still keep it center and maintain it. So let's bump this on in there, up against there. Okay, I just felt resistance on the carriage, so now I'm going to set my travel dial to 0. Now I'm going to back this off, and we need a total of 6.5 millimeters. So we got 7 right there. There we go, there's 6.5. And so with this speed that was in there for the reamer is probably good enough for the parting tool. So let's go ahead and take it off. Now we're off to the next step here, where we're going to take and chamfer the hole and put a little face on here and a little chamfer around the edge. So now we're going to stick the thing back in the chuck. Sorry about my hand there. And what we're going to do, I'm not sure if you can see that or not, we're going to keep a high corner, the corners of the thing pointed, yeah, doodly doodly do, to the center of the jaws, and then that way we've got maximum contact with the jaw so that it doesn't get lost in there. And like I said, 8 millimeters is just the, tighten it up with the chuck wrench here. So now we're in there. Now it's time to chamfer the hole, and then face this off and put a chamfer on the outside. Sneak up on it here so I don't take off too much. Make that chamfer too deep. Now I've set my travel dial already, and so I know which what depth to set on this. As you can tell, the camera's mounted on the cross slide here. We want 2 millimeters. Now we're going to feed it in. Now we're going to feed it all the way over. Now we have to reverse the chuck. Feed it in 1 to 1.5 millimeters. lost the chamfer on the hole, so we're going to have to touch that up a little bit. Come on, stop. To it. And so here's our finished piece. Let's see if we can get that to focus here. Alrighty. So now all that's left is a little touch up. Take the chamfer and do it by hand down here at the end of this hole, and then touch them up with the files and hit them with the polisher, and we're good to go. Well, YouTube, that's a wrap for the sugar ring project. Hope you guys enjoyed what you got to see. And like I said before in the intro, these are for Susan Gardner over in the UK. So by all means, if you're into woodworking and you like musical instruments, check out her channel. Very interesting topics. She's got some real unique tools that she built herself. And it's always a pleasure to see somebody who knows what they're doing and watch them work. You know, there's some other notable names in there out there in YouTube, like Keith Fenner and Stefan Godeswinder, and so you know those are the kind of folks that are a real pleasure to watch work. So hope you enjoyed today's little episode and realize what your machinery can do for you. And well, I guess that's a wrap for today. So if you have any thoughts, comments, critiques, suggestions, please, by all means, put them down in the doobly-doo down below. Always love to hear from the viewers and subscribers. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to click on the subscribe. And as much as I hate to harp about it like everybody else does, you know, click a like or two if you can. It's for the ratings. It's the YouTube censorship thing, and you know, gets to be kind of an old, and gets to be kind of a drag. And I know you guys are tired of hearing it from other channels, but you know, I gotta try and keep my head above water, so to speak, as well. So anyway, that's a wrap for today, and we'll see you guys again soon.